demo day, blijven staan voor die pay. En ik schreef een BDP, maar dat doe ik niks meer mee. Demo day, blijven staan voor die pay. En ik schreef
Hi, and welcome to How to Demo, the podcast. My name is Laura Peters, and I'm currently a graduate student at the Faculty of Industrial Design at the Eindhoven University of Technology. I'm very interested in the role of designers in society, what it is now, what it could be, and how designers position themselves in order to fulfill their desired role. At the end of each semester at the Faculty of Industrial Design, a demo day is organized. This is a moment where all of our students get to showcase what it is that they've been working on throughout the semester to anyone who's interested in visiting. So for my final master project, I decided to have a closer look at the demo day and how we can design this event in such a way that it boosts both the development of our students towards the role that they want to take on, but also if it can maybe change the perception of the visiting audience on the role that designers can have. On the podcast, I will be talking to staff, students, and alumni of the Faculty of Industrial Design together and share various perspectives on the demo day and presenting ourselves and our work, both as a community and individual designers. So for the first episode, I got together with my best friend from Industrial Design, Gwen. I'm doing a research project, and the podcast is sort of a tool for me to gather data for my research. So I sat together with Gwen to explore the boundaries of my research question, and based on her experience at Industrial Design, we had a visionary and explorative talk about what the demo day is, what it could be, the different parties involved, and how we could highlight this within the podcast. This episode was actually recorded as sort of a trial for me to experience what it's like to record a podcast, because as you may have guessed, I've never done that before. But the conversation turned out to be so valuable and really insightful in the why, how, and what of my research and why I'm doing this podcast that I decided to make it the first official episode. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Gwen. So, welcome. This is the zeroed episode of the How to...
-1.
The -1 episode of the How to Demo podcast. And I'm here today with Gwen Clerks, who just graduated in February?
Yeah.
In February. Yeah, so she knows all about our faculty and the demo day, and also how to make very epic demo day presentations. And today I'm going to talk with her about questions that we want to have answered considering the demo day, what it could be, and what questions we need to ask other people in the continuation of this podcast in order to get the information we need to make it more epic. So Gwen, welcome. Can you maybe tell a little bit more about yourself?
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. Well, I'm Gwen. I just graduated, as Laura told. And I studied industrial design in Eindhoven for 5.5 years. So I did my bachelor and my master's in Eindhoven. So I have quite some experience, I guess, with the program.
And also with a lot of changes that happened.
Yes, exactly. I'm very interested in behavioral change and how design can play a role in such processes. I'm currently working as a service designer in Utrecht on my first assignment, and that's very exciting, I think. I can apply all my knowledge. So that's really nice, yeah.
Okay, well, are you ready to dive into the questions?
Yes.
Okay, so what we're basically discussing is that the demo day is an event where several transition processes come together. Transition processes, whoa, what is that? Okay, so the role of designers is sort of shifting, or has the possibility of shifting within society. And my sort of hypothesis is that the demo day is a point in time where a lot of these different transition processes meet each other. And I basically want to find out how we can use the demo day in order to boost all these different transition processes. we already discussed the three different transitions that we want to highlight. And the first one is the transition of designers. Would you maybe like to try to explain that?
The transition of designers. Well, I can try. So, the designers those are the students, right? They have the opportunity on the demo day to show what they made, but on the other hand also profile themselves, so they can use the demo day as a way to, I think, present themselves more professionally, also learn about potential futures, and that's
and
how
basically appeal to the audience that they want to start belonging to in the future, maybe. And then the second one is the education of designers, so our faculty. And this is one where we're still a bit doubtful of how to define it exactly. But how would you explain it?
I think this is a transition process a bit more like not directly connected to certain people. So it's like created by people for others. So the faculty facilitates a certain design or a certain transition process for the designers, and the demo day is part of it now as a way to showcase your work, but it could probably play a bigger role in learning more, or teach the students some more. That's how I see it.
I think that's really nice what you say, that the demo day is a part of the transition of designers that the faculty is facilitating. And basically we sort of feel that maybe the full potential isn't reached right now, and that is a sentiment that is shared a lot across the faculty. But that perspective is different for everyone also. So we're going to try to also figure that one out.
I also already have some more ideas, but
okay, that's
for later.
And then the third transition is transition in the industry, and their perspective on design and designers and what they can mean to their companies, whatever.
So this is more of a mind shift. I see it like new perspective on design, on ID, and what it can mean for them.
Exactly. So those are the three different transitions that we are discussing that come together at the demo day. And maybe it's good to go to sort of the overall question that we're trying to answer. And that's basically how to present interaction design at the demo day. Do you have some thoughts about that question? Do you think it's the right question?
I'm not sure if it's the like top question, you know, like, where, because I'm not sure, maybe we can figure it out in the conversation, but also thinking like maybe the question should be, what's the goal of people, or what could be a goal that you can reach with the demo day, and then how can you present it is like a follow
more
up
of an applied version of reaching that goal.
So if you like can pinpoint like these are the goal, or this is the potential of the demo day, then the next question is like, what can we do to like go like realize that potential? I think that's very nice indeed. So maybe that's the like umbrella, and then those questions are very interesting, and they lead back feedback. Because go back into the.
Because we have some sub questions also that we would like to answer beneath this umbrella. But I already really like the change that you make from presenting design to why. Actually, let's start with the why power.
Exactly. think also if you focus more on that one, you focus more on what could be. You start more like dreaming.
Yeah.
While when you're focusing on how, you're more in the like, what can we do now? And there's less space or maybe less trigger to...
Then it's less visionary in a way.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
people sort of stay within the format of, okay, we're going to have tables on which we're going to put our prototype.
Yeah.
And that is the space in which we can make changes.
Yeah, and if your goal is like, I want to create this atmosphere or something, then it's like you can start thinking in a whole different way, and you can step back from the tables and the posters.
So you think it's important to have this really visionary approach within this podcast?
I think that's nice, and I think that's very interesting, at least, and I think it's also something that, or at least it makes me very enthusiastic. If you're like, oh, we could do this and
everything's possible.
Yeah, everything is possible, and then you can then start thinking about, all right, how are we going to do that?
Okay, nice.
I like that.
I also like that a lot.
Nice, that's good.
Should we start with applying that umbrella question to the different areas, or should we also go over the sort of the sub questions first?
I think first the umbrella question, because then we can also like have a better opportunity, better opinion about the other. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Because what I was thinking, if you have this focus, then it's also easier to understand the education one. Because otherwise, like, my first struggle was that education is also sort of within the designer, so then you have two transition processes within the designer, while if you focus more on the
goal.
On the people who make the education, what their goal is and their vision and what they would love to see, then it's more about them, and that's easier.
Should it be the people who make the education, or also the people who provide the education?
Yeah,
or is that the same thing to you?
For me, that's the same. Okay. It's probably my
important people who make the education.
Yes. No.
Our coaches are making us.
Yeah, but
we're making like nice squeeze motions with our hands.
I mean, they probably have a certain vision.
Yeah.
So.
Well, then I would really like to start, because you are, you are still a designer, but you've also been a designer within industrial design. What was your goal at the demo day?
Well, it changed a bit over time. Well, first I just started like, right, my goal is to just do what they ask. I mean, I have to present, then I will present what I did so far. It shifted a bit towards a more, like, being part of my project, as in a way, as being a part of the investigation. Can you say it like that?
How do you mean that you use it for gathering user input? Or?
Yeah, to get some more insight. So that's what I did more in my master's, that I used it to get to answer certain questions. So I just didn't present, or I did present where I stood so far, but then I wanted to know from the people who were looking at it what they thought, or if they would use it. So I used it as a sort of user test, I think. Because I felt that I felt a bit like, always at the end of the project, I don't feel like my project is completely like finished, because it feels like it's never done. So it felt more logical for me, I think, to present it in such a way that it's
that's sort of more open-ended.
Yeah, more open-ended, and I like to give some like some recommendations of how you could, like.
Do you think that also sort of relates to what you just said about having this open atmosphere for creation, with being more visionary in a way?
Yeah, probably. maybe I would also like to, or I've never thought about it like this, but maybe I was interested in also seeing what also the potential was of my own designs. Like, how could I take it even further?
Yeah.
So that might be, I'm not sure, but that
Okay.
was like more unconscious, I guess.
Did you feel like you achieved that?
Well, it's quite hard to get the input, I think. I think I should have thought even more. I should... should I pick up your pen? Yes. Here you go. Thanks. I think what it would have been better if I really saw it as a test and not... There was still that feeling of I have to present something. So it was a bit of a...
What is that feeling?
Well, that I wanted to show what I had done so far, because that's also a bit what they expected.
Okay.
In my point of view, that they just wanted to see like...
So do you feel that the format that you sort of had to adhere to wasn't compatible with the state of the project that you have to present?
I'm not sure, but I think it's interesting if people start thinking about why they are presenting or what the goal is of their presentation, and if in the current like setup you already like you don't really think about it, in my opinion. I only started thinking about like, oh, maybe I could do something different than only putting up my prototypes in the last year. So I think that should be a bit more open, that people can, maybe experiment with the demo day, like what you're doing now. The demo day is your project, so I think that's very interesting, and I think there should be more like space for that, or how you say, more opportunity to...
More also openness to different forms of presentation or different forms of introducing people to the project, maybe instead of presenting.
Yeah, and it feels like demo day, then it's done. That's like the end thing.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, you say like, this is what I have, and nice, look at it.
Yeah.
Go forth.
Yeah. Next semester.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And I think it's nice if you can... Yeah, I don't know what it could be more, like what different things you could use the demo day for, but I think it's nice if people would at least consider it.
Yeah. Cool.
So that's my view on it. So
Nice.
that's in the current setup, that's not really stimulated.
So if we try to abstract it a bit more to the transition of designers in general, to sort of summarize what you say, you see a potential to achieve a various set of goals within this event. How does that relate to the development of designers towards their future?
Well, what I think is very important is that you're aware of the reason why you're doing things. And, well, I think it's very important that you can be critical about that, and in that way also develop yourself and keep on asking, like, why am I doing this? And is this the right way?
Yeah.
In that way, I think it's, like, really contributing to...
Yeah.
Personal development probably. And maybe it's also helping you to like get a sense of what you like, maybe. I don't know, if you have a completely different goal, it can help you maybe to see what you would like to do next. I don't know.
Yeah, I really like this, or at least from your story, like this idea popped up in my head, or this image of having like this crazy day with like stuff happening everywhere, and it's like, oh my god, and that visitors will just be like, this feels like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or it's it reminds me actually a bit of the constructive design research course, because at some point there are like these vending machines all over the building, and everyone really hates doing the vending machine stuff, but it's actually really fun that the projects are actually alive and visible, and we can interact with them, but like really interact with them. Yeah. And maybe that sort of could be a cool vibe. Yeah. If it was more, if the demo day would be more open to an approach like that.
Yeah, I really like what you said about bringing it alive. Mm-hmm. I think that's maybe what is missing in the current demo day, that these are just prototypes. Yeah. It's not like, it's not real. Yeah.
And that's really stupid, because the way that we create it is super real. Yeah. Because we go to talk with people, we make it with people, we test it with people, and then we show it, and it's like, it's
like 1 square meter. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this is a really nice bridge to maybe the education perspective, because there is probably a reason why the demo day has come to be the way it is. Yeah. And apparently that isn't as alive as it could be, maybe. No. Do you have some thoughts on what maybe the reasons behind the current setup could be from more of the faculty, which is an academic faculty also?
Yeah. Well, of course I cannot talk for them, but it feels a bit like in like like when industrial design was very young still, then it was this event where like companies could also come, or at least that's what I'm told, and where they could talk about projects, and where also like, for example, Philips could see a really, really nice project and like help you to develop it further. And I think that was what they initially wanted, but what slowly but suddenly disappeared. While the like, the notion of the demo day still stayed, and because that's what you also see in other parts of the education, like they try to hold on to certain values which they really liked, but at a certain point it's not possible anymore. So maybe that's what also happened here.
Yeah, I think that might be right, because it's actually really funny, because when I see the demo day image that we're sort of trying to create, I immediately see like the orange place quad from the main building, because it was just super chaotic there, and you just had like the thing with all the balls in it where kids play. I don't know what it's called in English, but it was just fun. Yeah. And you also felt more free in a sense to also show what you're doing, and you guys had like this swimming pool inside, for your first project.
And it was possible,
Like I couldn't really see a swimming pool happening in Laplace.
No.
Yeah, but then what questions would be interesting to ask people from this perspective?
Yeah, what I think is really interesting is to ask, like, what's the role now? Like, how do you see it? But also because how I see it now, the demo day is very, like, disconnected from the rest of it's just like a feedback moment, or just
it's a bit like the appendix.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tick box you have to tick. Yeah. And I think it's very interesting to ask, like, if this is really what they want, because you have more time for your project, but what their vision is on how it could be part of like a project. It's not really a part; it's just a thing. Yeah. In there.
Yeah, I think that's a really on-point observation. It's not part of the project; it's just a deadline. Yeah. And I think that it's good to have a certain deadline in the project.
Yeah, of course.
Because you need to move on and you need to be able to make decisions. But the integration is really missing in a sense, and it's just like you miss your last week of your project because you have to work towards this presentation.
Yeah, probably even more if you have like to have a prototype and then it's like, all right.
Yeah.
You created all these things for like one day, and it
takes a lot of time also.
Yeah, and it should be more, because what I really like about the demo day is that it really is an event where you can, like, it's like the climax. Can you say climax? Of the whole project, because you can show it to everybody, and everybody can say how much they like it. But then again, so that's the part which I really like about the demo day. But then the connection is interesting. I think that should be.
I was sort of thinking. Because it also really relates to the question of what kind of designers are we actually being trained to become. Mm-hmm. Because if we are trained as traditional industrial designers who make more products in a sense, not going to generalize, but just to make this conversation more easy, then it makes a lot of sense to have a demo day in the form that it is now, that everyone has a stand with a poster and a prototype that shows the product. But I think that what we see in what a lot of our students are actually doing, they're making products, but is it about the product?
Yeah, no, it's not about the product.
No, and I think that that's actually a really important question also, maybe for people who are making the education.
Yeah.
Like, what are you actually trying to make us be, and what is and does this format actually suit this?
Yeah, that's very interesting. I like that a lot.
And then I'm also thinking, because I think that then the demo day could be more part of your process for maybe finding stakeholders or user feedback, or I don't know. It could be whatever, but is then the end of the semester the right time for it?
Yep, it's also.
Because maybe it would be much more interesting to have it sort of like 2/3 into the semester, or maybe 1/3 into the semester, to find stakeholders, or really, or to really use it for user testing, or maybe we could have different type of demo days for the different
or maybe
goals
maybe you could have like different time slots, like you could do it like at the start or at the end, like
and you have to participate in one or the other, and it could be that you participate in the stakeholder gathering one, or you could participate in the user testing one, or you could participate in the product presentation one, sort of depending on what you need in your project. But the box that you have to tick is that you have to present your work to an external audience at some point, instead of everything meshed together.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're trying to make it work.
Yeah.
I think that this sort of also makes this transition a bit more clear, maybe.
What do you mean?
Because we still weren't really sure about how to define the education transition.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that now we pinpointed some really good questions, like, what are you actually teaching us?
Yeah.
And why do we have to do this?
Yeah, what's the role? What's the goal? And maybe what's also interesting is to ask their own perspective. Like, if you were a student, what would you do?
Yeah. Like, that is very nice. Yeah, if you had to present your work at the demo day.
Yeah, because like I think you're probably gonna talk with a lot of people who they had their own design projects. Like, take one. How would you present it?
Yeah.
And does the current demo day suit that? Like, if you
how would you want to present it?
If you could present it in any way, how would you do it? And like, relate that to the demo day. What do you think? What should change? Is it perfect. Maybe it's perfect. You don't know.
Yeah, maybe it is perfect. Maybe we're all just bitching a lot and it's actually
Maybe we're
perfect.
just not understanding.
We just don't get what's happening. You got your master's diploma, but you have no idea what you've been taught to do. I think that there's again sort of a nice bridge to the next transition, which is in the industry. Because I sort of finished with, well, maybe we could have different sort of focuses within the demo day, and that also different types of audiences can be engaged in that. Because for the industry, I don't really know what I have to say now.
Yeah, well, I think industry is quite like a broad topic, because I'm not...
Should it be industry? Maybe it should just be external.
Yeah, maybe it should be external. And what I was also thinking, are you interviewing people who have been on a demo day, or just people like from corporate life and like who might not have been?
I'm not sure yet if you have anyone that I can interview.
Yeah, because that's very different, I think.
Yeah, I think that it's mostly going to be people who know. The idea is that it's people who know the demo day, because otherwise it's difficult to give a good opinion about it. And I'm not sure whether it will be people from companies or whether it will be people from the faculty with a lot of external experience. That's just, you have to see what happens and who wants to participate.
Yeah, true. But what you were saying about you don't think that they can give a good opinion, but I think they can give a very good opinion because they don't know what the demo day is. So they can really like clearly, or I think more clearly state what they would like to see without being influenced by what they already know.
Yeah, and that actually might also be able to give a more interesting perspective on how design and what we are doing at our faculty is actually viewed by people really external to it.
Yeah. And what then also could be interesting is to ask them, like, what were, like, the best presentations you have seen? Like, how were they created?
Yeah.
And what did you feel, or didn't you feel anything, or what was your role in that?
Maybe I should just go, like, really hard on recruiting at the Dutch Design Week.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can, like, make some new friends.
Yeah. Make some new friends.
Not from industrial design.
Purely for the podcast.
Yeah. But that would be very, very beneficial, I think.
Do you think that it's important that it are people who are actually working, or could it also be just basically students from another discipline? Or
yeah. I think it could be both, or like could be anybody as long as they have as long as they are interested in design.
Yeah, I think that's really relevant.
Because otherwise they wouldn't go.
Yeah.
And if they wouldn't go, then there's no point in asking what they would like to see.
Good point.
I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, I find this one quite difficult to define and to grasp also, because external, it really is. It is so broad.
Yeah.
It's not doable. That's maybe also interesting. Is it because I'm doing a research project basically? Would it maybe be better if I were to just focus on the designer and education part together? Or do you think that it's important to some extent keep the external part involved?
Well, I think the podcast could be a really nice way to explore that. Because if you would be able to talk, for example, to a student and to someone of corporate life who hasn't heard of the demo day, then it gives you a better image of the possibilities and the like.
What the importance it could be.
Yeah, and if they are like, meh, I don't know.
I don't care, you show me.
Maybe I wander in. I don't know. So maybe it's too big to focus on all of them.
Yeah.
And I think that's if you create these podcasts together with them, maybe that gives you a better opinion on
Yeah.
that.
So maybe the podcast is actually also a way of figuring out how these different transitions actually relate to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
And to what extent we should actually be bothered with the different sort of transitions that pass through in order to reach our goals.
Yeah.
Because I think that what you say about maybe someone who is external really is like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I really don't know. And if they don't know, then it's also not a good idea for us to keep saying like, yeah, but we want to know what they think. We want to know what they think, because then it's up to us to show them.
Yeah, and then it's very interesting to focus on what what values they think are important. Like maybe they want to be surprised, or maybe they want something which is very structured, where maybe they want to see like the best projects like being very, how you say, like in the spotlight or something. And
I think that this could be the second series of the
Yeah.
How to Demo podcast. We'll first fix the internal structure, and then we start exploring the different perspectives from the external world.
Yeah, I think, but that could be very, very well possible, because it's so big.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that the conclusion is it's nice to have like at least one perspective from external, just to see how, to what extent.
Yeah, maybe also to get a fresh input.
Yeah, exactly. But the focus is actually really more on the internal.
Yeah, probably, because you should fix that first, and it should
Yeah.
first bring value for the students.
Yeah, yeah.
After
I agree.
it brings value
I'm basically
for.
doing this because I want to help the students.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
basically also myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my priority, because we are working so hard each semester, and this week is actually always quite stressful, and I think that it could be so much fun. I think we could just have like the best week ever if we have the freedom to make it to be the best week ever. I don't know if it's the freedom, but the opportunity.
Yeah, and imagine how nice it would be if you could like experience the vision on a project of each like student or student team in the demo day. That would be so much nicer, I think, than seeing some prototypes, like what they would actually like to establish, and then they can tell afterwards their story of how they want to do it, but like really incorporate that vision and that feeling and that experience rather than only the thing.
Experiencing the vision.
Yeah.
I really like that you say that, because I personally really believe in that, but I'm trying not to advocate this opinion too much, because if it were up to me, I would be like, but what's your vision?
Yeah.
Tell me, what are you dreaming about? What do you want the world to be?
Yeah, but I think it's really important. Like, that's what I also did in my demo days. Like, I made sure like everything looked very neat and very nice, because that also already impacts your experience of that demo day. So I think it's really important to incorporate that experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really nice way to also incorporate it into the curriculum, to see it more as a, maybe even a design process to create a nice outcome or a nice way of presenting.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that we are really, actually, we are asked to have a very good reason for why we're doing our projects. With all the professional identity and vision development that's going on.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think it would be nice if there would be more emphasis on, okay, so you made the decision to spend 20 weeks on this.
Yeah.
Show me why.
Yeah, exactly. And actually it's like, why, now I'm thinking about it, it's quite strange that we all are designers and we don't see the demo day as a design.
Yeah.
It's just a thing.
it's a thing.
I think that's my conclusion. Demo day is just a thing.
Yeah, it would be really nice if we could see it as that.
Yeah.
Because that would be really fun. Shall we quickly go over sort of the sub-questions and maybe see how they fit into the story that we've created now? Can you maybe tell me something about that.
Should I just...
Yeah, maybe just read them out
them
and whatever pops up, we just...
Yeah, so the first question you told me is what is expected of a presentation, and that's then from a perspective of visitors.
Yeah.
So what would they like to see?
Yeah, and then I think that what's also, when we're talking about more the internal approach, really interesting the perspective from maybe sort of the different tracks within that have been defined now within the master at least. So you have more of a research and academic approach, a more business-like approach, or a more, I always find it really hard to explain RDD because it's sort of everything.
Yeah. Everything that's not the other two.
Everything that's not the other two. Yeah, so do you agree with that? That's interesting to also really adhere to those perspectives, or?
Yeah, I think that's nice because as I felt it when I was studying is that they were not really... I mean, you had to do 2 courses, but then it didn't really felt like you were in one of those tracks.
Yeah.
And I think there's more potential in it, and also that you maybe feel more like
you belong to the track.
Yeah, you're like going towards that goal.
I'm a researcher.
Yeah.
I'm a design leader.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be so cool if you were like, I'm a design leader.
Yes.
I think that then a lot of people would be doing the track. Like these epic sort of graphic posters, like, I'm becoming a design leader.
Yeah, like superheroes.
No, I'm going to be super awesome academic.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm interested in that, you know. Okay.
And how does ID relate to industry? That's the next question.
Is that still relevant then?
I think maybe...
Or is it also
more...
how does ID relate to the outside of ID?
Maybe it's more of a question like how do students want to relate to industry? So maybe more focusing on who are they as a designer, like more in the tracks also probably. And I mean, if I want to be like very graphically oriented, then that's how I want to relate to industry. Maybe that's a more interesting angle than how ID as a whole relates to industry.
Yeah, and maybe it's also interesting that by asking questions about this, also to coaches and staff members, but also to students, is to sort of, with the podcast, show that there probably are a lot of different goals and ways that people want to relate to the industry, which can then, if that's the case, which I expect, which can then maybe contribute to creating this sort of more open atmosphere on how we can approach the demo day.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. Very nice.
And the last one is how to create a memorable presentation.
Well, you already said that that's important. Because you already told, I spend a lot of time on making it look very nice to really communicate my vision and already sort of engage people in what I'm trying to create. Yeah,
I think it's very interesting to also ask people about their own experiences in this one. Not only like how would you do this, but what
would you like, but more
what have you seen and what really touched you in that, and then maybe go from there, like focus on how could you use it, or how could you see it in a demo day, or... And then I think it should be like presentation in a very broad sense. Yeah. Like once I saw this sort of, I don't know where it was, but it was this sort of lamp with all those crystals. Maybe you've also seen it. And it was like in this big room, and it was like with black on the walls, and I still remember the crystals probably. Yeah, there was this really big room. They did something with light also, didn't they? I think so, but
wasn't it like all these little ping pong balls,
Yeah.
and that they had like this light projection on it, which changed the atmosphere completely.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
the like, that was
super
epic.
nice.
Yeah, so like if you can like talk about these things, then it's what is it that you like so much? Then
Yeah, and really also focus on the experience part. Then
yeah.
I think that we can sort of conclude that we need more experience.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the demo day should be more a design thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, really part of the design process.
Yeah.
Cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think that we
Nice
did some
conclusion.
we really took some steps in sort of trying to figure out my research.
Yeah, that's good.
So thank you
Happy to contribute.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Thanks again so much to Gwen for joining me for recording this first episode. It was really nice for me to be able to kick off this series together with one of my best friends, and I hope that this episode gave you some insights into what this podcast is going to be about and also why I'm doing this. So, did our conversation get you thinking about the demo day? Maybe you've got some questions for me, or you got very excited and have epic ideas for improving the demo day? In all of these cases, I would love to hear from you. You can contact me via Facebook or Instagram at Laura Peters, send an email to info@laurapeters.com, or just come say hi in the graduate space. I'm there most days. How to Demo is a Studio Het is Ik production, made possible by lots of awesome people at Industrial Design. Special shout out to the Kid Salim, Beeks and Lil Showcase for letting me use their song Demo Day as soundtrack for the podcast. And thank you, most of all, my epic listeners. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll meet you in the next episode of How to Demo.
Vanavond heel veel plezier. Have fun, yo. Peace.